Welcome back, everyone, to Data Science for Everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about HTML, the DOM, and CSS. Let's get started. So, to create up our own interactive web applications, we're going to need to know a couple basics: HTML and CSS. Now, the languages used for creating web pages and changing how they look this is exactly what we need. So the comprehensive introduction of these two languages would go beyond the scope of what we're wanting to accomplish here, okay? But we're just going to talk about the basics. Now we're also going to discuss the DOM, which is the Document Object Model, and its application programming interface, or the API, which give us a way to modify web pages using JavaScript. So what we're going to really talk about again is some HTML annotations, okay? And these are going to take the form of tags. And again, the simplest tag that we've talked about, again, is the name tag, and we utilize brackets. Now we've seen this previously. Okay, so if I go up here and let me create up a new file here, and I will create up HTML, CSS, DOM.html. So what have we done here? Okay, so we have seen the HTML tag. Okay, we have seen the body tag. We have even seen the script tags in here. Now, most tags come in pairs. Okay, so they have this opening tag, and then they have a closing tag, and the closing tag will always have this / in there. Now, each pair of tags, so the body and the body here, is going to define an element. All right, each HTML element represents some piece or aspect of the web page. So now, in some of this context, nesting, okay, means that we're going to have elements contained within other elements. So here we see the HTML contains the body, which contains the script tag. Okay. Now, everything in between the opening and closing tags in an element is known as the content. So, for example, we can use the paragraph tag. So I'll get rid of this here, and we can do just P, and this is a paragraph. So this is a paragraph. And actually, I'll go on and tab that over so it looks clean. So we have the opening tag, the content, and then the closing tag. So now another thing that we can do is we can create up just a basic HTML document. Now first off, let's go on and type this out and do the doc type, okay, HTML. And so you can see here that this is kind of telling the web page what exactly this is going to be whenever it opens up. Now, the next part in here, we're going to have an HTML tag, and we usually have a head, okay, and then a title. And here, the title, we'll call this my first web page, okay? Now, after the head, we usually have a body, and inside that body, we usually have a header tag. Okay, so here is welcome to my page. And then after that, we would usually have maybe a paragraph tag here. And again, here, this is a graph. Okay, now let's talk about each of these in turn. So again, this first line here is the doc type, and it specifies that this is an HTML document. Now the second thing in here is the HTML tag. Okay, and everything else in this file is enclosed between the HTML opening and closing tags. Okay, as you can see here. Now, the next thing is inside of our HTML element in here is the head. Okay. Now, element, and we also have the body element. Now notice that our document follows a common convention of using independent, we have indentations to indicate independent nesting types, okay? So now this head in here actually usually contains some metadata, so information about the page. So in this case, it just contains a single element of title, and later on we will see that it can hold a lot of other information as well. Now, a head element also contains links to scripts that will run on the page, or style sheets for CSS to modify how the page looks. Both of this we'll talk about later on in this video. So let's go on and take a look at this nice little web page here. So let me pull this on over. Let me pull it over to the other side here. And let me open it up over here. Oops. All right, so we see here that I'm linking up to my page. I double-clicked it and actually opened up another window over here, so I just brought it over. Now, the first thing we see is the tag up here, okay, is my first web page. It also says that it is a local and shared file. Then the next thing we have is our header tag, our H1 tag, which is welcome to my page. And then notice we have our paragraph tag. Good, so this is something that you would probably see back in the 90s. It was very basic, very shallow in its creation. But again, it does exactly what you think it should do. Now, we've kind of wanted to understand some of the nesting relationships here. And so let's maybe talk about that. So we have our document, again, HTML, CSS, dom.html, and the title is nested within the head. Okay, so therefore we can say that the title is a child of the head. Now, an element that is either directly or indirectly contained within an element is called a descendant or a child. And so, for example, this H1 here is going to be a descendant of the body, which is a descendant of the HTML. So again, you could say that HTML here would be called the ancestor. Now, you can also have elements that have the same parent. So like these two here would be called siblings. Okay, so and again, this H1, the header one, and the paragraph tag here are both have the same parent. They are siblings to, and the body is their parent. And again, similarly, the head here and the body are siblings, and again, the HTML is the parent. So let's move on to talk a little bit about the DOM, or the Document Object Model. Now, when your web page loads up an HTML file, it's going to create an internal model of elements, again known as the DOM. Now, this is just a document for a web page. Unlike HTML files itself, though, which is a static file, the DOM is dynamic for the page, and you can modify it with JavaScript. So to view the DOM in this Hello World document, okay, we can open up our JavaScript console. So let me go back over here. We can right click, we can inspect, and again, you can see that we have these elements. And so let me pull this up and notice here, we have all of these items in here. All right, so these are the elements. Now, we should see something again. It looks very similar to our HTML file, but again, it has these arrows that can kind of collapse everything, and we can expand them, and we should see the whole document. We even see our doc type here as well. Now, let's look at the dynamic nature of the DOM, and we can maybe double click this. Let's do welcome to my web page, and let's change this to something like hello. And notice here it automatically changes. All right. So now that means that if you have some type of program, okay, for in this case, we're utilizing JavaScript, we're going to be able to change things according to how we want them to. Now, notice though that we're not modifying the HTML document itself. So I can go back over here and notice this has not changed whatsoever. Whoops. And so, but we're able to at least modify this particular instance. Now, again, thanks to the DOM, we can update elements in a web page directly from the browser, and this results in an immediate display. Now, again, we have to do that manually right now. So again, we can change this to Libs. Okay, and hit enter, and notice it will change again. But later on in this video, we'll show you how to utilize JavaScript to update the DOM elements in here. So one thing that we need to understand is the DOM API. Okay, so we need to have element identifiers. So one thing that we can kind of do here is we can run the following JavaScript code in the console actually. So let me go back over, okay? But first let's just take a look here of what everything looks like. We have title, we have what? Welcome, we have all of these potential tags that we can grab. We have body, we have head, we have title, we have our header one and our p tag. So let's go back over, and I can go into the console here, and let's do something like document.title. And notice what happens here though. My first web page. Okay, so that's this my first web page. It's up here. All right. Now, what if I do something like this? Document.title is equal to hello YouTube. Okay. Oh, look what happens now. This changed. Hello YouTube is now our new title. Okay, so then that means we can interactively change things that are happening in here. So we can do document.h1 is undefined. So how would we actually access this? Maybe we do body.h1. Does this do anything for us? What does the body actually do? We actually get to see, and we can grab each of these elements, which is kind of nice to see. Okay, so notice we can actually go in here and take a look. So what if we do document.body.h1? Okay, it actually doesn't give us anything at all because it doesn't want to go in that far. So again, we can actually see, and so let's actually talk about how we can actually utilize each of these pieces, all right, in turn. Well, let's go and close this, and let's go back over to our set here and talk about how we can actually identify these elements. Because again, sometimes it can be very difficult to grab things deeper inside. So we have these things, HTML attributes, okay? So such as ID, and then we're able to give key value pairs to add to HTML elements. So the ID attribute gives us a unique identifier to an element. Okay, so here we can do this HTML, and we can do ID is equal to main header. Okay, so this is going to be our main header here. And what is happening here is we are placing the attribute after the tag name for h1. Okay, now the attribute name and the attribute value are separated by an equal sign. Okay, so we have here the ID equal sign, and then the actual name here, or in this, say we're calling it main header. Now, if we reload the page, back over here, we're not going to see any difference. Okay, again, it reset the DOM that we had changed before, but it's not going to actually do anything. Now, if we go and we right-click here, we inspect, and we look at our header and our body, notice we actually have the main header right here, okay? So you can actually see that tag. And again, if I'm clicking on it, we can actually see even over on the left-hand side there, you see that H1 hashtag main header, okay? And again, we'll highlight that element, and let's take a little bit more of a look to see what's going on. All right, now it has that ID, and it's a lot easier for us to now refer to it using JavaScript. So how do we actually get a hold of this utilizing JavaScript? Well, we can do this. We can say let's call this main header is equal to document.get element by ID main header. Okay, so now if I look at main header, okay, notice it grabs all of that information that we want here, okay? So it's grabbing that whole tag itself. Now, what we're doing is we're storing the element into the variable called main header. And then again, since its identifiers are supposed to be unique, the get element by ID returns only one element. If the ID isn't found, though, the method will return null. So if I go up and I change this to how about main ear, and I'll change this to main ear. Main ear, notice it returns back an object null because again it does not exist. So one thing that we can do now though is that we notice here that we grabbed this HTML tag, the whole thing whenever we did the get element by ID, and now we can do main header and we can do dot inner text. And notice what this does is this says, welcome to my page, welcome to my page. All right, we have actually accessed that item. Now what happens though, if we change the main header dot inner text is equal to hello out there. Okay, notice it has gone on and changed our header here. So the inner text property represents the text of the element. So we can actually see that from this example that it can be used to get the text and change the text. So when you update the value of inner text, the text in the heading on that page updates as well. So you have to keep in mind though, this is just the change to the DOM and the browser's model of the web page, not the underlying HTML file itself. Again, if we go back to that HTML file, nothing has changed here whatsoever. So again, if we change our file to, this is a paragraph, this is another paragraph. Okay, and we go over here and I refresh the page. Notice this has refreshed and nothing has changed inside of the document. All right, so the next thing that we kind of want to talk about today is the script elements. So if you want to include a JavaScript element in your HTML document, you have to use the script HTML element. And again, we have already seen this previously inside of our items before. This is the script tag, and we can write in JavaScript in here. Now, again, we can write JavaScript directly into the HTML file, and that keeps everything in one place. Now, that is very, very handy to have, okay? But, again, having a JavaScript in a separate file means that you can use the same JavaScript file on multiple pages. Now, maintaining separate files can also be more manageable when your project has a lot of HTML files and a lot of JavaScript. You can also, it can already be seen again in the script element that we've talked about before, again, that's what we've done here. So what we can do, so instead of having it down here in the body like we've had before, we can go up here and put it in the header, and we can do something like script src, and the script src here is actually for our script, and we'll just call this script.js. Okay, something very basic here. Okay, and then we can maybe we'll we don't need to really change this up or anything, but then we would need to actually have another HTML, or not another HTML. We would need a JavaScript file, so a new JavaScript file, and remember we called it script.js. Okay, and I'm going to save it in the same directory, and let's just do something like console log hello my viewers. Okay, and we will go on and we can go back over to that web page now, and then again we'll save this, make sure everything's saved, and we should be able to go over here and we should be able to refresh, and notice the page didn't change, but hello my viewers now came out. Again, we could do that one more time. We could add in hello my viewers. Let's do another console log, and we'll do just a bunch of plus signs here, and we'll do log here 3 plus 2. Okay, so just so we can see that everything works correctly. So notice nothing has changed. I hit refresh. All right, we have our lines of pluses. We have 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. And again, it tells us where each of these pieces of code are related to in our JavaScript file. And if we click on it, we can actually see the JavaScript file will pop up here in our sources, and we can see exactly what's happening. And you should be able to see here your file tree, okay? So where your file's located at, your main document, and your script. And it knows that these two are linked, so it's going to show them both together. So now the thing that we would usually do here is to create up, and instead of calling this, for example, some HTML dot HTML underscore CSS underscore DOM, we would have a tendency to call these just the index 8.html. And we can see again that that's just how we like to kind of do things. We have a tendency to call them the same thing. Now, one last thing that I want to cover today is just to show you guys again, I've been utilizing the Visual Studio Code in here, and there's a lot of nice things that you've seen that kind of pop up for us. So if I do new file, and I'll just call this index.html, I'll create it in here, and if I just hit HTML in here, now you can see here that there's just an HTML, and this is from Emmet, and it is the abbreviation for our HTML tag. If I did HTML:5, and I hit this, notice what happens. It fills in a full body for us. Now here, it adds into some extra stuff in here. It has our language is English. Again, you can change that if you're doing Chinese or Japanese, Korean, Russian, whatever. We have our character set, which is UTF-8, which is a metadata tag. And then we also have in here the name for viewport, device with initial scale is 1. And again, this is for when you're opening up your, when they open up the screen, it'll actually kind of make itself clean for the viewing. Okay, so it'll open up in a nice wide format if they have a wide screen, or it'll be a shallow format otherwise. And again, it just comes up with a generic title. So we may be starting to use this later on, or we may go in and create up our own file that we want to save, so that maybe it automatically has our src in there or something else. Again, you can always update these in Emmet or in Visual Studio Code at your preference. So we finished up HTML. In the next video, we'll be talking about CSS. So if you guys like this video and you want more of this content, please like, subscribe, and hit that like button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.